Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad-Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 7, text number 29. Rudra Uvacha Tava Varada Varangra Vashisha Kilarte Iapi Munivirasakte Radharenarhaniye Yadhirachitadiyam ma vidhyaloko apividham Japatina ganaye tattvat paranugrahena. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Lord Shiva said, "My dear Lord, my mind and consciousness are always fixed on your lotus feet, which, as the source of all benediction and fulfillment of all desires, are worshipped by all liberated great sages, because your lotus feet are worthy of worship. With my mind fixed on your lotus feet, I am no longer disturbed by persons who blaspheme me, claiming that my activities are not purified. I do not mind their accusations, and I excuse them out of compassion. Just as you exhibit compassion toward all living entities." Purport. Lord Shiva expresses herein his regret at having been angry and having disturbed the sacrificial activities of Daksha. King Daksha had insulted him in many ways, and thus he became angry and had frustrated the entire sacrificial ceremony. Later, when he was pleased, the yajna performances were reinstituted. Therefore, he regretted his activities. Now he says that because his mind is fixed on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord Vishnu, he is no longer disturbed by the ordinary critics of his way of life. From this statement by Lord Shiva, it is understood that as long as one is on the material platform, one is affected by the three modes of material nature. As soon as one is in Krishna consciousness, however, one is no longer affected by such material activities. One should therefore always be fixed in Krishna consciousness, busy in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. It is guaranteed that such a devotee will never be affected by the act of nature. This fact is also corroborated in the Bhagavad Gita. Anyone who is fixed in transcendental service of the Lord has surpassed all material qualities and is situated in the status of Brahman realization, in which one is not afflicted by hankering for material objects. The recommendation of Srimad-Bhagavatam is that one should always be Krishna conscious and one should never forget his transcendental relationship with the Lord. This program has to be followed strictly by everyone. From the statement of Lord Shiva, it is understood that he is always in Krishna consciousness. Thus he remained free from material affliction. The only remedy, therefore, is to continue Krishna consciousness rigidly in order to get out of the contamination of the material modes. So Lord Shiva is expressing his mind, saying that with my mind fixed on your lotus feet, I am no longer disturbed by the people who blaspheme me. I do not mind their accusations. I do not mind what they think about me, but I excuse them out of compassion. Just as you excuse and exhibit compassion towards all the living entities. So Prabhupada is saying here, the purport, that this amounts to Lord Shiva expressing his regret for having been angry and disturbed the sacrificial activities of Daksha. It is the nature of the Vaishnavas. Then even if somebody is offended, he always thinks that he might have offended. Just like how Ambarish was thinking. Even though Durvasa Muni offended him, Ambarish Maharaj was thinking, I have offended. So Lord Shiva here also is thinking, maybe I should not have done that much, because the starting point, of course, was criticism of him. Okay, second sacrificial arena, Sati was insulted. But the origin of everything was when Daksha insulted Lord Shiva. So these are some of the wonderful qualities of devotees, pure devotees. Even an exalted personality like Lord Shiva is regretting, because interpersonal relationships are so complicated. It is not possible. There can be misunderstandings at very high level also. Even if the devotees are not having any material motives or material modes, exalted devotees, because person means unique. Each individual is unique. So each individual's unique perception is different, thinking is different. It can be spiritually, there are spiritually varieties of thinking can be there. So it is not that, being surrendered to the Lord means surrendered to the Lord does not mean that like a robot, everything that you do is everything, every action that you do is directed by the Lord. The Lord also gives the living entities, treats the living entities as persons who has to use their intelligence to serve Him. So, to the best of one's ability, in different situations, the devotee, even though he's trying to be humble or tries to practice humility, he can make mistakes. So therefore, one should always be ready to beg forgiveness. Especially in our case, all conditioned souls. It is never that one person is wrong. Most of the places when two Vaishnavas there is dispute, issue, it is mostly, it needs two hands to clap, they say. So it is very valid thing. It is not only one person who is done. the other person also has given his hand, therefore offenses happen. Most of the time. Because if somebody is offensive, if the other person doesn't take it offense at all, then there is no clapping at all. Is it not? The very fact that he offended me, and then there is an accusation, counter-accusation, all these things. So even in the matter of offenses, in the sadhana stage, everything is based on regulation. It's not that pure humility or anything. What is regulation? Regulation is of Vaishnava etiquette. You have to follow the Vaishnava etiquette. One should always remember that when I am living in the community of Vaishnavas, I can always be unfair to another Vaishnava. And I cannot be very sure. Better err in the safer side than argue that I am right, I am right, I am right. Better to beg forgiveness from the Vaishnavas whenever there are offenses. And one has to be very careful. Just like here Lord Shiva is saying, I am fixed at the lotus. Actually, mistakes happen only when we forget the lotus feet of Krishna. That is the meaning here, that I am no longer disturbed by persons who blaspheme me. Why? Because I am fixed at your lotus feet. My mind and consciousness is fixed on your lotus feet. So this is another point, that if our mind and consciousness is fixed in the service of the Lord, then automatically there is Krishna conscious intelligence manifest, by which one knows how to actually deal with everybody else. Idle mind is evil, workshop. That's a devil's workshop. Idle mind is devil's workshop. So, if we keep ourselves completely engaged in service of the Lord, there is constant protection from the Lord. In the case of Lord Shiva, he is saying completely fixed in mind and consciousness, fixed at the lotus feet of the Lord. A person like Lord Shiva can 24 hours be fixed at the lotus feet of the Lord. But we, equivalent for us, is to be fixed in the service of the Lord, continuously in the service of the Lord. And that will give us the protection against making mistakes in dealing with other Vaishnavas. So, this is a very interesting point where Prabhupada is saying that Lord Shiva expresses his regrets at being angry at Daksha. This is the nature of the Vaishnavas. Prabhupada also had several. Prabhupada said, humility means spiritual intelligence. Like a definition of humility, spiritual intelligence. Without spiritual intelligence, you cannot be humble. That means without knowledge, you cannot be humble. Why? Because humility is about relating with others. Humility is about relating with the Lord. Humility is relating with the pure devotees. Humility is about relating with karmis. All of these require humility. And how to relate with somebody, we have to relate in a way in which the Lord would want us to relate with them. That is humility. That means spiritual intelligence. How does the Lord want me to relate with this person? To see things from the way the Lord would see things. It is not the way we want. So in other words, we have to understand the Lord's mind to practice humility in different situations. Like in battlefield of Kurukshetra, we can say initially Arjuna was really humble. How can I kill these people? Very humble. But finally it turned out that that is not humility. Humility was to kill. Why? Because that was Krishna's will. So we have to understand this, very important. There are codes of gentlemanly behavior, mildness, gentleness. Those are all bodily characteristics. Gentleness. Humility is a very high concept. Humility of the soul is a very high concept. Of course, it manifests at bodily level too, as gentleness also. But it's not necessary always. If Arjuna was gentle, he could have never killed all the people in the battlefield. He could never fight. Similarly, in management also, in the Vaishnava community, management also, if one is gentle and mild always, the Kshatriya's role, management is Kshatriya's role. Is it not? Management means what? Kshatriya's role. Teaching means it is Brahmana's role. Management means Kshatriya's role. In Kshatriya, Vaishnava Kshatriyas, Seva, when you do, then all these elements of Kshatriya, if it is not there, one cannot manage anybody. You cannot manage any organization also. Yeah? In this material world, if you have to preach Krishna consciousness, we need organization. We need organization means organization, cannot be run by Brahmanas. Organization can be run by Brahmanas? That's not what the Shastra says. It cannot be run by Brahmanas. A pure devotee can do Brahmanas work, Kshatriyas work, all those things. That is different. But just by Brahminical qualities, one cannot run an organization. That's why they are called Raja Rishis. They have to have, have Vaishnava principles, but they have to do what they have to do, like Arjuna had to do. So a lot of confusion when devotees also in the Vaishnava community also. They think that, if the temple president is always very loving and kind, then everything will go very nicely. It will not go very nicely. In the spiritual world, probably yes. Not in the material world. In the material world, you're dealing with three gunas. Every living and even devotees, we are all sadhakas, we are not pure devotees, free from the three modes of material nature. Therefore, how to deal with all these things in a Vaishnava way? That is where the principles of Kshatriya has to be applied if you have to run an organization. But they have to be governed by principles of Vaishnavism. And what does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita? One should not try to do another's work. If this is your nature, do service according to that nature. That comes easily. If the other thing is not nature, you cannot be blind that there are different sets of skills required. Brahmana requires Brahmanical skill set. Vaishya requires Vaishya skill set. Kshatriya requires Kshatriya skill set. Shudra requires Shudra skill set. Ultimately, it does not matter. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, one is not a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. One is a servant of the Lord. So with whatever comes according to our nature, we should be doing that kind of a service and not criticize others who have, if I don't have a skill set of a Vaishya, how can I criticize how can I, suppose I am not having a skill set of a Vaishya and somebody has got skill set of a Vaishya. How can I comment and criticize his business decisions? Is it not? Similarly, somebody has only Brahmanical, let us say, skill set. His mind does not go into all this management, all these things. That's all right. If he does his seva and keeps doing, fine. If he tries to now comment upon everybody else, assuming that this is my expertise, I can see everybody else, what Kshatriya, what business mistake they are doing, what administrative mistake they are doing, everybody. Then you make offenses. This is one of the causes for in the Vaishnava community where devotees think that I can comment on anything and everything. I can judge everybody and everything. And they don't learn from somebody and say, okay, how to judge this. If you are, that's called, you are color blind. Certain colors you don't see. When you color, certain colors you don't see. Similarly, you don't see the layers of all the, Kshatriya factors. Just like if you don't feel for profit, if you don't feel for loss, if you don't feel for income, if you don't feel for expenditure, if you don't feel for, cash flow, how can you don't know any of these things. You just know money. And then somebody says, then you criticize. Why you do this, why you did that, all those things. So then you make offenses. So this tendency to think that I have got all kinds of intelligence are the people who make offenses. I have a Brahmanical intelligence. I have got Kshatriya intelligence. I have got Vaishya intelligence. I have Shudra intelligence. Means I can understand. Naturally the person will, if he thinks like that, because intelligence means you have to be adept in that area. As I said, if you're a Vaishya, you know all these things. Like this, it should come, all these kind of things. Numbers and all should come easily. With feelings. Everywhere there are feelings. Please understand. It is not that, a Vaishya feels numbers. A Kshatriya feels discipline. A Kshatriya feels power. He feels how power can be properly balanced to bring order and care and keep everything free from chaos. The Kshatriya has to utilize power to bring harmony among people in the society, everything. That is why, he makes the laws of, governance, this thing, all that. That is Kshatriya's job. He feels that how power is to be used for harmony. Similarly, Brahmana, the spiritual intelligence. His focus is spiritual intelligence. Bordering matter, spirit. That is called Brahmana. He's not into, his intelligence is not expertise in finance, his expertise is not in all this. Spiritual intelligence. Spiritual intelligence means what? Starts with separating matter and spirit, and then understanding spiritual dynamics of Krishna consciousness. That is Brahmanika. So it is so utterly foolish for somebody to have a paradigm that I have intelligence to go anywhere and into anything without knowing one's limitation. And this is the reason why Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, better to do one's own duty than somebody else's duty. Your own dharma than somebody else's dharma. That is wisdom. That is wisdom. Otherwise we make fool of ourselves. I am the Lord of all, I survey. And then everything you'll, even if somebody is learning something, it is fine. Instead of learning, one makes all conclusions. Yes, they like this a conclusion. Head is full of misreadings about reality. And when somebody cannot comprehend what happens, the person becomes the most confused person. Is it not? If everything fits well, then he is very cool, so it fits well. Suppose I want to put my head into somebody's business, and I don't understand the numbers, and I go on putting my head in it. I'll always be confused. I'll always be confused because I don't have the Vaishya intelligence. Some pastimes of Srila Prabhupada. I remember going on a morning walk around Bois de Boulogne, in which there are some lakes, and I remember asking Prabhupada a question. I asked several questions, but one specific question was, Srila Prabhupada, what does it mean to be humble? And his answer was really incredible. He said, humility means that you are convinced beyond any doubt that there is nothing in this world, absolutely nothing in this world, not your money, not your family, not your fame, not your gun, not your education, nothing that will save you except the mercy of Krishna. When you are convinced like this, then you are humble. And that explanation really impressed me. In other words, he was saying, when you depend completely on Krishna and no longer rely on anything material or formula as a backup, you have no longer any backup, just the mercy of Krishna, then you will actually be humble. So that was a wonderful explanation that he gave, and that stayed with me all these years, because that is actually the foundation of humility in Krishna consciousness. And obviously Prabhupada is an example of that. Another. When Srila Prabhupada was asked, what is humility? He said, humility is to act boldly for Krishna. We may think that humility is to be meek, quiet or submissive. But no, Prabhupada said, be bold for Krishna. Another. Over the years, one of his qualities was his extreme humbleness. What I realize, this is the power of extreme humbleness. Because Prabhupada was so humble, when we brought him to this new temple, I was just talking about Melbourne, and Madhu was giving him a tour of the temple, and he took him upstairs and showed him the rooms, which were Prabhupada's rooms. Then Prabhupada looked and said, is this for me? Like he was so humble. The power of humility is that people want to do things for you. People get inspired to do things for you. Srila Prabhupada ki. Any questions? Yes.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
My question is, before one advances spiritually, during the sadhaka stage, how can a devotee feel for what he is doing, his service, without being attached to the service?
How can he feel for?
Feel for the service, feel for it, what he is doing, without getting attached to that.
See, attachment is always about outcome. Attachment to the process is encouraged. Attachment to the outcome, that means you have to enjoy your work. You have to feel and enjoy doing the service. But that should not be misunderstood to be attachment to the fruit and that fruit's benefit to you. In other words, when I am doing devotion service, what I have to get, I already got. What is that? I already got what I am looking for. The very fact that service I got, I am doing, itself is a gift. I got mine. So this is exactly karmaneva adhikaraste, what Krishna says, for devotees also. That we have to enjoy the process of serving the Lord. And you cannot enjoy the process of serving the Lord without feeling for the result. But feeling for the result is different, and attachment to the outcome of result is different. They're two different things. If Arjuna did not feel that I should kill him, his arrows would have gone somewhere else. Right? So his mind was focused on the result, achieving the result. So in the same way, no devotion service can be performed skillfully if you don't feel for the result. You have to feel for the result. But you should not think I am the controller of the result. Number one. But you can always think that right now the process is in my, whatever the best of my abilities I can do, I should do. And you enjoy the process. You see, just like some students, they enjoy learning and go and write the exam. And there are some students, they're only thinking of the exam. And they don't enjoy the learning. They're mugging, so hard, all those things. Because why? Their whole focus is, these activities are useless. If I could copy, then no need at all. What is the need for all this, mugging and all that would have been saved? But a good student, he enjoys studying, he enjoys the lesson, he enjoys the learning. And also, result also automatically will come. So when one is inflicted with too much sense of passion, he works for, why are you working? For the result. Somebody is not in passion, next level will be, why are you working? It's my duty. I enjoy doing my duty. I enjoy doing my duty. So every moment we should learn how to enjoy the very service itself. Anand se karna, dil se karna, they say, no? Dil se karna. कैसा भी करना. Different from दिल से करना. जो कुछ करता है दिल से करना. That means heartfully do it. Heartfully do it means delightfully, joyfully, enthusiastically, soulfully. Soulfully is not advanced. That's why I said mindfully, then heartfully, then soulfully. Mindless japa, mindful japa, heartful japa, and then soulful japa. Any other question? ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय.